All right, so hi folks, this is Jeff Armstrong. I'm here at the development group at Fusion Labs. We're very excited to show you GeNXT. We've been working on this for quite a while, and I've got a couple of my developers who have joined us today. They're going to be watching and listening. If you like what you see, thanks to these guys. They're JavaScript geniuses. So, GeNXT, for those of you who aren't at the hoedown and haven't heard about it, it's our next generation of grant management. It's essentially a new web front end on top of our existing grant solution. It's going to be hosted at Fusion Labs. If you're going to go with GeNXT, you'll host your grants solution at Fusion Labs, and you'll host your Razor's Edge and Financial Edge solutions in Blackbot hosting and go with FE-NXT. But in terms of showing you the product, I'm going to show you from our demo environment. If you see any hiccups, it's because we're on a test machine here. But I'm going to go ahead and sign into the screen here. Before I do, notice that there is an option here to sign into the CRM finance system, which is the Sky API. Blackbaud's interface into Razor's Edge and Financial Edge is called the Sky API. With your classic GE products, you typically use the classic RE and FE APIs to connect. But because these are in distributed locations, they now have a new set of web services at Blackbaud called the Sky API, and this will allow us to connect to those. I'm not going to because I want to show you another sign-in option once we connect to GeNXT. As you can see here, I've logged in. I've got an icon here that says I'm not connected, and I can click connect at any point. So this is going to connect me to the Sky API. You'll see this connection successful message that popped up. We call this toast. A little toast pops up in the bottom right from time to time to give us notifications regarding various things that are happening in the system. But this is the home screen for GeNXT. We've got integrated help that's available here. Here's a getting started guide that talks about all the various components of the system. All the screens have this help integrated and built in. We've got a menu here that gives us access to the various components. This is the home screen. Under grants, we see the record types. This first version of GeNXT is going to include grants, funds, and constituents. We have a reporting menu that'll show us the reports, gives us access to the same SQL Server reporting services reports that you have configured in GE today. So whichever reports you have set up in GE are also going to be available here online. We have a batch menu that's going to give us access today to check runs. That's going to be expanded over time, of course, to include dockets and correspondence batches, et cetera. And then a control panel where we can do various administrative configuration sorts of things. So this is our menu. We have the same concept that Blackbaud has in the FE-NXT and RE-NXT products, and it's called the database view. If you look at the bottom left of this browser, you can see the URL that this points to. This is our Citrix environment here at Fusion Labs. So when you're hosted with us and you've got GeNXT, this will give you access to the Citrix environment to log into GE Classic the way that you traditionally do. So this is our home page. Let's go ahead and jump into a fund record. Let's start with funds. This is our fund landing page. We've got some summary aggregate data at the top. We've got our typical recently accessed records. This reads from the same set of records that are used in GE. And we have a list of all the funds. These lists can be searched. They can be filtered. These columns can be reordered. This is a very flexible grid that gives us a lot of power here. I can click on one of these funds. Let's pull the Hero endowment. I can click one of these funds and go to our fund record screen. So this is our fund record screen. You'll notice here we've got links to FE-NXT and RE-NXT. And as I hover over those links, we'll give just a second here. You'll see that this is going to actually link to the Razor's Edge and Financial Edge systems, and let us go to FE and RE-NXT to see the related records. We've got a lot of functionality here in this screen that is very similar to what we have on the fund screen in GE. So GE, we had a record that had a bunch of tabs across the top. That record screen with tabs concept translates here to a web page with tiles. So what you used to see as tabs in GE, you now see as tiles in NXT. These tiles can be moved around. I can click here and drag it If I wanted to move it, I could reorder these tiles. I can collapse them and expand them with these buttons. And there's this little gear icon that lets me edit the data in a particular tile. So we have the financial summary tile, which is similar to what we see in the financial summary tile, tab in GE. A list of fund requesters. I can add new fund requesters. And a lot of places you'll see this little ellipsis icon with the 3 dots that gives you a drop-down menu that allows you to do various tasks associated with each line in a grid, if you will. So this would let me either delete this requester or edit this requester. I can edit, and it will pull up a window where I can edit this requester. Sorry for the lag here. This is a relatively slow computer. But this lets me edit the requester information, save it back to the database. We've got financial summary data. We've got requester data. I'm going to scroll down a bit here. We've got characteristics. I can add characteristics. I can edit an existing characteristic. We've got a list of our discretionary allocations. I'm not going to necessarily dive into each one of these, each field on each tile. That would take quite a bit of time. I just want to give you a high-level overview of what we see here. Most of the data is read-only on this fund record, just like it is in GE. The list of grant history for a fund lists the grants that are associated with this fund, the status of the grant, et cetera. And these are all links that will take you to the various grant records. Highly navigable here. You'll notice the Paper Save tile. If you have Paper Save Cloud, that's a separate product you can purchase from Paper Save. And if you have a subscription to Paper Save Cloud, which is not the same as Paper Save on-premise, but if you have Paper Save Cloud, you can configure your GE tenant such that it's integrated with GeNXT. Once you've logged in, you'll be able to see all the documents in Paper Save that are associated with this particular fund record. And this Paper Save tile is available on all 3 of these record screens: funds, constituents, and grants. So this is a fund screen. Let's jump into the constituent screen real quickly. It is similar to the fund screen. But you'll see here we have these little indicators that tell us what sort of recipient, what sort of constituent each one of these constituents are. We'll go into good old ABC Learning Center here. It's got some data that's relevant to us. So we've got a summary of the constituent flags at the top. We've got notes if they're available. We have the constituent codes. We can edit all this information again with an edit modal with this pop-up box that lets us edit the information. Just like before, you'll see these tiles that correspond with the tabs on the screens in GE. So we've got the recipient info tab, the payee info tab, characteristics, contacts. Let me jump back up to contacts real quickly. This read-only grid of contacts has the phone numbers and the email addresses as links. And so these links, if you're on a mobile device, you can put this link and dial. On any device, if you'll notice, this is a mail to link. If you look at the bottom left, this will just launch whatever your default mail client is, typically Outlook for most of us. This will just launch a brand new email with Outlook. Again, grant history lists all the grants that are associated with this. These are links to the grant records. There are several pages worth of data here. It looks like we've got 8 records per page and 4 pages worth of data. So we've got at least 24 up to 32 records associated with this grant history. We can just tab through this data pretty quickly. Same goes for proposal history. We list the proposal history. Once we do implement proposals in a future version of GeNXT, these will be links to the proposal records as well. And we're also going to have information here, just like we do on the GE constituent record, related to the web users for a given constituent. And we've also got documents and, again, the paper save tile. The documents tile includes both correspondence documents that have been generated, as well as media files that have been linked in the GE record. We are looking at ways to serve those documents up here. Today it's just in file names. but at some point very soon we are going to look at integrating with various document management solutions. So this is the constituent screen. Let's show you the real power here in the grants, where it all comes together. In this version, we're essentially only doing standard grants. Interfund transfers will come soon, but they're not available yet. All these standard grants, again, these grids we can search and find a particular grant, page through them, etc. I'm going to open up this particular grant record.
Hey, Jeff, we can't hear you.
I think Jeff has dropped off.
Hi, folks. This is Jeff again. I'm so sorry. Looks like my call was dropped. I don't know how long I was offline.
A lot.
Oh, heavens.
You were last talking about document storage, Jeff.
About document management on. Last I was talking. You said about document management in the constituent record.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Since then I haven't said a whole heck of a lot. I was having trouble bringing up this grant record. So, sorry for the hiccup in the call here. But I pulled up this grant record. Wanted to step through the grant screen with you guys. This main editor here lets us edit the majority of the relevant grant details. We can choose the grant status. Again, this is a list of all the custom statuses that are configured in GE. The recipient search has been implemented. The payee search looks like this one doesn't have a payee. Let's go find one. And we'll go with ABC Learning Center again. So the fund search works the same way. We've got a grant date and a grant amount. But this is the detail editor for the main grant detail. Let's see. We've got the funds. This is a list of the funds on this grant. I can add a new fund with this ellipsis icon. I can remove funds. I can edit this fund. This one doesn't have an acknowledgement address. See, we could set one up. So that's the fund screen. If there are multiple funds, you can tab through them, navigate them. Quite a bit you can do with payments here. We can add a new payment. We can edit an existing payment. Very much like the screen in GE for payments, you choose your payment type, your payment class. You can set your payment amount. Let's say this is a $500 payment. And notice when I tab out of it, it sets the pay date for me automatically, and it creates a component record automatically, just like it does in GE. So now I've got two payments here, and it shows that I've got a $5,500 amount remaining. I can then go in to delete this payment if I like. So you can do quite a bit of payment management from GE. And keep rolling here. We've got workflow. You can edit a workflow step. You can add new workflow steps. You can delete them. I know workflow is a key part of the system here. I can set this one as completed today. Looks like my screen isn't refreshing here, but we've got characteristics, we've got profile data. Right now, profile data is all read-only. We've got documents. Again, we're just showing the file names of the documents. And then likewise, we have the paper save tile again. So these are the record screens in GE. We plan on doing a lot of updates to these screens, bringing out new functionality. Some of the data here is read-only, and we're going to make as much of that editable as possible as we move forward. So we are planning very regular releases to this, and a lot of new functionality coming out as we make it available. So those are essentially our record screens. In reporting, I'll show you the reports menu real quickly. We've got a list of the reports that are available. Again, this is the same list that we've got in GE. We can search, we can search by path. We can search by name. We'll bring back just the proposals. Just the proposal reports. I can edit one of these reports, I can delete them, and I can open it in Report Builder from here, and lets me go in and edit the report. I can also launch Report Builder from here to browse a brand new report. To create a brand new report and save it in SQL Server. And of course, I can hit this Run button and run a report from here as well. That's all available here in the Reports menu. We can also toggle over to the SQL Server view, which lets us browse the SQL Server reports, like Fred showed a minute ago in the data warehouse. On our batch menu, right now the only batch we've got implemented is check runs, but check runs are functional today. So we've got, I'll go ahead and pull up a check run. You can search check runs here. I'll pull one up. This check run has 3 checks on it that have been batched. I can come down and I can find available payments. And let's see, we can add a couple of these payments. Just add a selected payment. And we'll scroll back up, and now we've got 4 payments in this check run, right? They're all check run batched. So you can manage the payments on a check run from here. The Finance tab looks very similar to the Finance tab that you see in GE on a check run. From here, we can create invoices in the finance system, and once they're paid in the finance system, we can then do the mark as printed function, the post-processing update to read the check data from the Financial Edge and update the grant payment record back here in GE. That's all done via the Sky API functions that I mentioned before, and again, FE is hosted in Blackbaud's environment. The same as before, logs and comments are available here on this check run screen, just like we see in GE's check run screen. So these functions I should also mention are available in GE in this distributed environment. So when you run this database view and you run GE from the Citrix environment, you will be able to still do the same things that you have done before with the integration to Razor's Edge and Financial Edge. The difference is instead of using the FE and RE API, we've coded a new interface in GE that will allow you to do these functions via via the Sky API and Blackbaud hosting. So you can create invoices, you can do lookups, you can zoom, the overnight sync functions, etc. These are all functions that we have fleshed out in GE that are now accessible. And then finally, the control panel, just a couple of minor things here. We've got the administration screen where you can take a look at all the users, administer users, roles and permissions, just like in GE. We've got error logs available here. We've got a screen where you can see all the record locks. We'll have system statistics where you can see the data counts. The configuration screen right now just has the global settings in it. We'll be adding more to that over the weeks and months to come. And then a diagnostics page is pretty much just for us internally to see if there are any problems with the website. So that is GeNXT over overall. Let me pull up the questions. I've seen a lot of questions come in via the chat window, and let's start addressing some of these. Okay, if you have custom plugins, will they work in GeNXT or will they run in the Classic? Great question. They will run in Classic. And if your custom plugins connect to the Razor's Edge or to the Financial Edge, we're going to need to fix them before you can use them in production. All of our current custom plugins that we've developed for clients use the Classic RE and FE APIs. And if they use those Classic RE and FE APIs, we're going to have to overhaul those plugins and have them use the Sky API instead. So if you have a plugin that doesn't connect to RE or FE, or that just reads data from RE and FE and doesn't write data, you're probably okay. You may be okay. If you have a custom plugin, talk to us about it before migration. Is there anything in GE that's not in GeNXT? Yes. There's quite a bit that's in GE that's not in GeNXT. Again, we're going to be doing a phased release approach. As I mentioned early on in the GeNXT demo, we've got grants and constituents and funds. But over the months and even years to come, we're planning on rolling out all the functionality that we've got in GE at a high level. I guess I shouldn't say all, but we're planning on rolling out proposals and our scholarship module and web applications and all these sorts of things. So over time, yes, we will be adding things to GeNXT that are currently only available in GE. There's a question about hosting. Can this be self-hosted, or does it have to be hosted in the Fusion or Blackbaud cloud? At this time, it cannot be self-hosted. It has to be hosted at Fusion. GE and GeNXT have to be hosted at Fusion, and REFE, ReNXT, and FeNXT, all four of those have to be hosted in Blackbaud. Is there a fee on top of the current fee or a different pricing structure? Great question. There's not going to be a license fee at all for GeNXT. If you currently have GE and you're currently paying maintenance on GE, you won't have a license fee for GeNXT, but there will be a monthly subscription. I believe we may be planning on making that an annual subscription fee. Mark Hall is still putting together the details on that. If you've got questions on pricing, or if you want to get in the queue for implementation, see Matt Hale here at Fusion Labs, Matt Hale at mhale@fusionlabs.net. Here's another one. What are the advantages of GeNXT over the classic GE in-house server product? Great question. I think the big advantage to GeNXT is that you don't have to install a local version. It's browser-based, and you can run it from anywhere. You can run it from home. You can run it from a desktop, a tablet. It really doesn't matter. You can run it anywhere as long as you have a modern web browser. It's compatible with all the latest modern web browsers. Internet Explorer, Edge, Firefox, Chrome, Safari were compatible with all the latest modern browsers. That's the big advantage, is you don't have to install a local copy. You can run it from anywhere.
But you're also linking to ReNext and FeNext.
Yes, quite right.
So if you're planning on moving to ReNext, FeNext, you really need to look at GeNXT. Quite
right. Another question here, do you have to have one or the other, i.e. Classic GE and or GeNXT? In effect, you need both. Don't think of GeNXT as a replacement for Classic GE. Think of it as a cool new add-on. You would continue to use GE Classic in our hosted environment, and you would now have an additional web interface into it. Let's see. Do you have anyone lined up yet to acquire GeNXT? We have a couple of folks who have already signed up for GeNXT, and we're looking at implementing those folks a couple of foundations in the coming weeks. Let's see. How do the overnight syncs work with this? Great question. The overnight sync process is currently run, if you've got GE Classic, they currently run from your SQL server, and they run as an overnight process using the Classic RE and FE APIs. What we've done is we've developed new functionality that instead of going to the Classic RE and FE APIs, because we can't, because they're not on the same servers. We now have rewritten a lot of those functions to read data from the Sky API to get data from ReNXT and FeNXT in the cloud. So the process will be very similar to the way it works today, but behind the scenes, the functions will be different because they won't be using the classic APIs. They'll be using the Sky API, but they will be running from the SQL Server. Because they're going to be hosted at Fusion Labs, they'll be hosted by our SQL Server. They'll be managed, rather, by our SQL Server management staff here at Fusion Hosting. Another question, if information is updated in GeNXT, will it automatically sync to GE and vice versa? Yes, essentially GeNXT is reading the exact same database as GE. So it's not a separate database, it uses the exact same database. So when you change a record in GeNXT, in effect it's changed it in classic GE as well. It's also worth noting while we're talking about it that the record locking between the two systems is interactive. So if someone has a record open in GE, if I browse out to that same record in GeNXT, it's going to say Charlie has this record open on his workstation, and you can only see it view only. And vice versa, we have record locks from GeNXT that prevent folks from editing records in classic GE if they're already open. So the record locking is interactive too. Another question, would custom reports be available on NXT? Yes, custom reports that you have available in GE that you've deployed to SQL Server reporting services, you can register those in GE and run them from GE, and you can also run them from GeNXT. So long as you've got them deployed to your SQL Server reporting services environment, and that environment is accessible, then, well, I'm sorry, when I say your environment, I mean our hosted environment. Yes, we can deploy your custom SQL Server reporting services reports to our report server and make them available on NXT. I think that handles all the questions from chat. Any other questions?
Well, if that's it, I want to thank Jeff and Fred for their time today. I don't know about you all, but it was very helpful for me to see both products in the demo